Hey team, you're watching Hide and Sneaks, and I'm continuing my 2024 Look Back series, focusing on a model and looking at every release that happened that year in 2024, ranking them from worst to best. And today we're going to be looking at the Lebron series. Now, quick disclaimer, we'll be looking at LeBron's main lineup. So we'll be looking at his 21s, his 22s, any next gen 20s that came through. We will not be looking at his training shoes. We will be looking at some retros, but that's pretty much what we'll be focusing on, which leaves 21 pairs for us to rank today. Let's get started with the first on this list, which is a next generation LeBron in a FaZe Clan colorway. Now, nothing against the FaZe Clan and nothing against the next generation model, but I don't feel like this is a grown-up sneaker. I understand the collaboration has brought in some of that circuitry board to the look and aesthetic of the shoe, but to me, if I saw this as a shoe, I would instantly think it was a grade school release and not a men's release. So for me, it's not something I'd want to rock on court or on personals. Moving on to this next pair, it's a LeBron 22, and I have no idea what's going on here. Now, LeBron likes to do some really out there colorways, and then he likes to do some really wearable colorways, and this falls somewhere in between. You've got some really out there sort of pastel accent colors, but then you've got some kind of like really easy universal colors like blacks and grays. I don't think it works in harmony very well, so I've got to put it low on this list. Up next, we have a LeBron 22. This one's a bit of an interesting one. Now, normally I love a shoe that either has great materials, great wearability, or just great storytelling. And this one does, in theory, have great storytelling. It's inspired obviously by the Monopoly board game. You can see that with the Monopoly notes on the sides. But from a wearability point of view, I think it took that theming just a little bit too far, and it doesn't seem as exciting. And this wasn't the only LeBron colorway that got Monopoly treatment, but this one to me is just not very wearable. Speaking of wearability, we have another next gen LeBron, and this one has almost picked every color it could possibly try to do. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what outfit you would wear this with. It doesn't look very wearable. It doesn't look very exciting. Following on from that real mess of colors we saw in the last pair, we have a LeBron 21, also with a very heavy color treatment. Now, I think this 21 is a little bit better than the next gen we just saw, simply because the colors it chose are a little bit more saturated, a little bit darker, and I think there's a few less colors in the mix. It's not a great bet by any means. I don't think you could wear it easily on court with your fit. So for me, we've got to rank this low. Up next, we have another next gen model and some mismatched pairs that create a lot of interest. Often in those cases, they're either heavily aligned to the player's lore and team, or they're really wearable. What I don't necessarily like about this is they're kind of two really odd colors to have chosen put in combination. It's not that I don't think they work, I just think they could have chosen colors that could have made it work a lot better. Moving on to this next pair, we have the LeBron 21. Now, the LeBron 21 lineup was really interesting because when they first released, they did so many different pairs with so many different mix of materials on the exterior. Now, the exterior on this pair for me is a little bit reminiscent of the Jordan 1 Shattered Backboard 3.0. A lot of people talk about how it looked like a rubbish bag or like it used greasy fingers and picked it up. So while the colors are a little bit more wearable, I really just don't like that finish on the outside. Up next, we have another LeBron 21, and this is what I was talking about. Real mix of materials that we're seeing. This one, I think from a materials point of view, is a lot more wearable. I'm not entirely sure what's going on from a color blocking perspective. It kind of gives me vibes of tie-dye. So yes, I do think you could wear this a little bit more frequently off court, and I've got to put it higher on the list because of that, but it's still not a standout pair, and there's still, again, better LeBrons to come. Now, this next pair is a LeBron 22, and I know I haven't been very passionate about the LeBron 22 so far, but I think we're finally starting to see some progress. Now, like a lot of people, when you buy your basketball shoes, I go through that rotation series, and I'll probably do a video breaking this down in the future, but for me as a person who often plays in LeBrons, I try to buy a pair that I know once I wear it on court, and I wear it off court, and eventually that gets beat up and I wear it as a daily rocker. And what I like about this pair is it has a wearable color with a nice pop of accent color. So to me, it's a much better LeBron, more akin to some of the stuff we've seen in the past that has been successful for him. Up next, we have another next gen, and to me, it's a much more wearable colorway. You can't often go wrong with black and red, and you can't often go wrong with black and gold. So if you combine them together, you have a highly wearable pair. Now, the patent leather may not necessarily be the best choice on this pair, but overall, from an upfront look, I think this pair looks quite nice. Up next, we have another next gen colorway, and it's falling just shy of the top 10. And I don't know what it is about this pair because technically speaking, they're not highly wearable colors, but I think they just work together so well. That aqua and that cream, I can see it being a daily rocker. I can still see it being kind of like an upmarket clean pair on court. So do like this pair, and it deserves to be much higher on the list than the others we've seen so far. Moving into our top 10, and it's the full red next gen take. Now we know all red sneakers have had a huge elevation and lift from the work that Yeezy did with the Red Octobers, and there's still a little bit of that excitement, that passion and lore for sneakerheads. I think it's done quite well here. The overall elevated materials they've used make it feel a little bit more nice, a bit more easy to rock off the court. So that's why I've got this pair on my top 10 on the list. Moving into this 9th spot, we have the Lebron 21 in another all red colorway. Now it was very hard for me to split the 9th and 10th position for me because they were both red shoes, and I've gone with putting the 21 over top of the next gen purely because I think the accent colors of the 21 helps that red pop a little bit more and add a little bit more contrast, but it is very close. Up next we have a Lebron 21, and this one is a gray sort of silver combination. I like this pair a lot. I think you can dress it up, you can dress it down. Adding a silver pair to a collection can often be quite hard, but with that grey support, I think this one's quite a good inclusion. Moving on, we have another Lebron 21, and as I spoke about before, the exterior materials on this model is so diverse. What I like about this pair is it has quite a premium feel to it, and weirdly, I think it's a Lebron, if you wanted to, you could rock in a work environment because it kind of has almost like a boot-like, sort of Tim's-like feel to it. So based on that wearability and that versatility, I think it deserves to be quite high on this list. Moving on to our next pair, and we're just shy of the top 5, is the retro of the Lebron 4 Fruity Pebbles. Now, like I said before, I love a bit of storytelling when it's done right, and I think on this silhouette and this model, it's done just that. This is a pair with a little bit of history and lore behind it, so sneakerheads should be excited by this. It's really interesting execution of color because it works in with the narrative. Even the way it uses the silhouette is interesting. You've got the Fruity Pebbles at the bottom, you've got the top half of the silhouette, which kind of creates that wave pattern similar to milk. I think it's an interesting pair. It's obviously an exciting when we look back at retro Lebron's pair. So I think it's a great inclusion, and it should be a good pickup for your Lebrons from 2024. Moving into the top 5, we have another next gen Lebron. What I like about this pair is that black, white and red is very reminiscent of old retros of Lebron. It's very easy to wear on court, off court. And if I think back to Nike basketball in the early 2010s, yes, there were some really electrifying and exciting pairs, but there were also some pairs like this that really were great to pick up because they were easy pairs that you could rock Nike basketball off the court. So for me, I think it's a great pickup because you have such versatility in this pair, and I think it looks really good for a performance basketball sneaker. Moving on to 4th place, we've got another next gen Lebron, and this one has some exciting color blocking. Now, I'm not a Charlotte Hornets fan, but I do think this color combination works really, really well. It makes a statement, it's electrifying and exciting, and it captures that high saturation and excitement in pairs that we like the Lebron 8 South Beaches and the Kobe Crunches. Obviously no classic like those pairs, but I think it's a great, vivid pair and should be a real good consideration for one of the top Lebrons of 2024. Moving on to top 3 territory, we have a Nike Lebron 21, and it continues that thread and theme of making sure the exterior materials are so wildly different. Now, I really do like the exterior of this pair. It's got a great two-tone look to it. It almost looks like brushed metal in a way, and it's very similar in some ways to the kind of look and aesthetic that we get on a Foamposite. So I think this pair is really elevated and feels quite limited edition and premium, even though it was a general release. And that's why I've got it high on my list. Moving on to the second best Lebron that I felt released in 2024, and this is going to be a hot take because it's a mismatched pair of the next gens. What I like about this pair is that black, that white creates nice contrast, the gold accents tied together, and I think it's a pair that you can not only wear as a statement on court because of the mismatchness, and similar to that pair I spoke about earlier about capturing that wearability of that early 2010s basketball, I think this does a great job at making a statement and showing up on pair. And that's what I think Lebrons do well. And that would have been my top Lebron for 2024 if it wasn't for this, the Lebron 22, inspired by both the Monopoly game and the James family game nights. I think this is a great pair, and it uses the Lebron 22 silhouette really, really well. That accent color, that kind of gold piping to link the signature of Lebron up to the Nike swoosh looks great. I think the shade of blue they've used is fantastic as well. That kind of bluey purple regal color historically has been used by royalty because of its rarity to get. They brought that kind of note in, he himself is the king. So I think it's a great tie-in, it just brings everything together. I think it's a great pickup, and if we're talking about any Lebron in 2024 that deserves to be the top model, I think it was this pair right here. Well, that's all the rankings of the 21 pairs of Lebrons that released in 2024. Let me know in the comment section below what you think and what your order would be. I know some of them are going to be hot takes. I definitely know bringing a next generation mix match as my second highest pair is definitely going to cause some comment discussion, but I do think it's incredibly wearable, and and I did want to get that pair myself. Now I probably will start wrapping up this 2024 look back at certain models. As we move into February and onwards, there's some pretty incredible sneakers coming out. All-Star Weekend alone has just generated so much content and so many shoes to talk about. However, if I have missed a pair that's an absolute screamer for you, please let me know in the comment section below and I'll see what I can do about making a video about that and looking at the 2024 releases for it. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.